So this is our Alpha base station.
Okay.
And this is what enables long-range, low-power communication. So Sensoro is a IoT solution provider. And what that means is that we have everything from sensors to gateway. So we started 3 years ago as a beacon, an enterprise level solution provider for beacons.
Yep.
And so we're in the retail space. We deployed over 350,000 beacons.
350,000 beacons. Okay.
And we have customers in 75 countries.
Right.
So, and some of our customers are huge, so Microsoft, Google, Facebook.
By running at a lower spectrum, unlike Bluetooth, which bounces off everything because it's very high frequency, this stuff actually goes through solid objects, buildings. You actually have a decent amount of penetration within reason.
That's right. So it's using a longer wavelength, longer radio wavelength.
Yeah.
And that allows the signal to get over hills and around bends much easier. We've done testing in the city of Beijing in conjunction with a manhole application, and even in an environment like that, you have about a 2-mile range.
You're listening to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Beacosystem with Steve Statler.
Hey, welcome to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Beacosystem. We are in San Diego at the Industry of Things conference, and we're going to be talking to Sensoro about what they're doing here, and I am going to be flipping this over so we can talk to Stephen Weinart. Stephen, thanks very much for talking with us.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
So what's your role at Sensoro?
So I head sales and product development in our global office in Seattle, Washington.
All right, okay. But you guys have a lot of people in China, right? I generally think of Sensoro. I mean, you've raised money from Microsoft.
Absolutely. Actually, we started 3 years ago as part of the Microsoft Accelerator in Beijing. We've grown from there, so we have actually 2 other offices in China. Shenzhen is one in Shanghai. And we've transitioned over to the Microsoft Accelerator in Seattle, Washington. So we're operating out of their building.
Very cool. And how many people in the company?
85 and growing.
All right. That is pretty substantial in Beacosystem terms. So we've got a lot to talk about in a very short period of time. You're doing some very cool, unusual stuff. I spoke to your CEO a year ago when we were writing The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Beacosystem. He told me that you were going to have this wide, long-range radio that you're going to use for beacon management. I didn't believe him, but
that's right.
You've got it.
You're
actually doing it. So what are we looking at here? Tell us what this thing is.
So this is our Alpha base station.
Okay.
And this is what enables long-range, low-power communication. So Sensoro is a IoT solution provider. And what that means is that we have everything from sensors to gateway.
All right. So this is a gateway essentially, and you've got sensors here which can talk to the gateway over quite long distance.
Quite a long distance.
What sort of distance are we talking about?
So line of sight 6 miles.
6 miles. Okay.
So about 110 square mile coverage.
So these babies have got Bluetooth. They're a Bluetooth beacon.
That's right. So,
and what is the name of this radio technology that you're using?
So all these technologies are part of what we call the Alpha suite.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our Alpha. The base station is the Alpha base station.
Right.
And we have the Alpha Node 4AA, which is one of our production devices.
Okay.
And this measures temperature, humidity, and light.
Right.
And as you mentioned before, it also incorporates a Bluetooth beacon.
Okay.
So it's not only getting data from your physical environment, you can use it as a remotely manageable beacon as well. And
can this manage other Bluetooth beacons? Because you've got Bluetooth beacons that are not Alpha enabled, like these guys, presumably. I've got a bunch of these, and they're beautiful. These are in jewelry shops all around China and baseball sports stadiums and that sort of thing. Can these talk to these?
These are standalone beacons.
Okay. All right.
So we started 3 years ago as a beacon, an enterprise level solution provider for beacons.
Yep.
And so we're in the retail space. We deployed over 350,000 beacons.
350,000 beacons. Okay.
And we have customers in 75 countries.
Right.
So, and some of our customers are huge. So Microsoft, Google, Facebook.
Okay.
Are some of our current beacon customers.
So I'm guessing that most of that number is in China. Is that correct? Of the 350,000, what sort of proportion would you say roughly?
There's a significant portion in China.
Yeah.
Because of our deployment in the jewelry store, Shop.
Yeah.
but it's spread all over.
All right. Well, we'll come back to some of these examples of what you're doing. So we were talking about the components of the offering, and then this is another component.
This is part of the IoT platform that we provide, and this is where you can view all your sensor data.
Yeah.
You can see the entire health of the network and manage all your devices from here.
Okay.
And what this also allows you to do, so Sensoro provides the IoT solution, getting the data from your physical environment to your cloud, and we stay out of the data management, storage, analytics side. We make it very easy to plug into whatever analytics platform you want to use.
Okay, so you're not trying to provide a kind of an orchestration layer or analytics. You're basically enabling people to deploy beacons, manage beacons, and previously they'd have to run around with a phone to configure the beacons, and some people have opted to use Wi-Fi as the gateway, but you're using this technology, and what's the technical name for the technology that you're using?
It's called LP-WAN, so it's a low power wide area network.
Okay.
And that gives you significantly more range than a Wi-Fi base station would.
Right. So we've got like 2.4 gigahertz, which is like Bluetooth, and then you've got this. What kind of what frequency is this running at roughly?
It operates in what's known as the ISM band. It's an unlicensed band. And so in Europe,
so we don't need to we don't need to go to AT&T or Singular to buy a plan. It's free.
That's right.
Like Wi-Fi, like Bluetooth, but it's just at a different frequency band.
Absolutely. And the frequency band that is used in our application is very good for signal penetration, especially through concrete, if you're in parking garages, and it's a low power system.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to deploy these devices that are battery powered, and have them last for a very long time in the field.
So what is this?
So this is actually a prototype of some of our air quality sensors.
Oh, which is relevant in a lot of places, especially China.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So air quality, indoor air quality and outdoor air quality is a field that we're getting into. And that extends to smart cities and smart building applications as well.
Let's go to somewhere a little bit quieter, make the most of the fact that we're at the Hard Rock Cafe, and we'll see a few of the other people. We've got Accenture and Hewlett-Packard, and a lot of people gathered around to talk about industrial IoT.
Really great events.
As
everyone here is very focused on the same types of solutions, so it's been very educational.
So is anyone using this technology yet, or is it too early?
No, people are. We actually have use cases deployed already for IoT.
Can you describe either specifically with names or generally in terms of who's using it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our first use cases was in the city of Beijing.
Okay.
We had a smart city application for the government where we're actually monitoring manhole covers. So this is kind of maybe a surprise to some of the American audience.
Yeah.
But when it rains very heavily in Beijing during the rainy season, streets can flood. And one of the solutions that regular citizens come up with is to pull up the manholes and to try and drain the street. So very unusual, right?
So do you have these attached to manhole covers, or is it a different device?
It's a different implementation.
Okay.
But it is based on this device.
Okay.
And then what it does is when a manhole cover is open, and that can cause a lot of problems, people falling in, traffic accidents.
Not good.
What it does is send an alert to the city management saying this cover's open. Go out and fix it or replace it.
So it's purely the manhole cover's open. That's it.
That's right. That is one particular application that they want to start as a proof of concept.
Yeah.
That will continue to evolve into things like smart street lamp control, people head tracking, and a variety of other things, including air quality monitoring.
So this is truly smart city infrastructure, and it's the local government that are paying for it?
Absolutely.
Very cool. And was that the project that drove this development? Because it's pretty, I mean, I don't know of any other beacon company that is doing what you're doing with this technology.
No, we are still providing the beacon solutions, but we consider ourselves an IoT solution provider.
Right.
So we have now encompassed that, and we've brought our beacon legacy with us to provide more functionality with our IoT devices.
Okay. So here's the question, how much does it cost? Because that is an impressive piece of kit that you've got over there. It comes in its own briefcase. It's got like a 3G radio in it. It's got a Bluetooth radio. It's got this lower frequency radio with a frequency. I mean,
that's right.
So I'm going to come back to you on the price, but basically, let's just finish off the spectrum thing. By running at a lower spectrum, unlike Bluetooth, which bounces off everything because it's very high frequency, this stuff actually goes through solid objects, buildings. You actually have a decent amount of penetration within reason.
That's right. So it's using a longer wavelength, longer radio wavelength.
Yeah.
And that allows the signal to get over hills, around bends, a lot much easier.
All right. Very good. How much does it cost?
That always a loaded question. Thanks for springing that on me. But so you have to remember the base station that you saw that we showed you is an industrial. It's an industrial application.
I mean, because your regular beacons are, I don't know, they're less than $50, a lot less than $50.
Right.
And so, well, let's just talk about these, because that was really one of my questions was, okay, you're taking a very simple single radio solution and you're loading some extra hardware. This kind of is obviously going to be more expensive, and it's worth it because you can manage it. But are we talking about twice the price for the beacon, or what?
About twice the price for the beacon.
Because you've got two radios.
That's right.
Yeah. And you've got, in terms of battery, are there kind of trade-offs in terms of the battery life? Because
there are. So the user has the ability to adjust how often the sensor is transmitting, so how often it reports data, and that does affect battery life. But you can get anywhere from 6 months to 2 years with 4 AA's.
Okay, got 4 AA's in there.
So we make them replaceable for that reason. And,
Okay.
And we have them battery powered because it eliminates the need to set up a wired infrastructure, which can be extremely expensive.
Right. And so you don't. So whilst that impressive bit of kit in there is going to be a lot more expensive than conventional beacon infrastructure, with a 6-mile radius, you don't need many.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So so the base stations run around 3,500.
Okay.
But they're IP67. They're lightning proof.
Yeah.
They're mounted indoors and outdoors.
I mean, the temperature range is pretty amazing. I was looking at the spec, and you can boil that thing in a hot Chinese summer, and it's still going to work. And it's going to work so it's really industrial. Yeah, that's very cool.
And in fact, one of our applications is smart agriculture.
Yeah.
So we're doing use cases in soil monitoring, which modified version of the sensor you're holding here.
Yeah.
It reports soil metrics back to the base station. That can be sitting outside on a hot summer day.
So what's a soil metric, like moisture?
Moisture, pH, nutrient levels.
All right, very cool.
So and we have partners that develop those type of sensors.
And there's a cloud component. Do we pay for the cloud component?
The cloud component is, yes, there's a subscription base for that, and that varies depending on the number of devices.
And just very ballpark for that.
It's about $1,000 a year for that.
1,000 so I'm paying $1,000. Does that cover 1,000 sensors, 100 sensors, or?
So that covers quite a few.
Quite a few. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it seems to me this seems reasonably priced. This is not outrageous.
No, it's we've done a lot of research with our competitors, and we're very, very well positioned. So we're very competitive.
Yeah. So who are you competing with? This is not something that are you competing with Contact.io and Estimate, or do you see the competitors as being different?
There is some competition.
Yeah.
And there are fewer companies in the IoT space that we compete with, but there are a few. But they're not too many.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to be in IoT, and we have an established product that's being deployed now, and we're continuing to learn, go to conferences like this, learn more about what companies need and what they need to monitor and become more efficient.
Yeah.
That's really guiding our development as well.
Let's just talk a bit more. I want to talk about use cases, and then just a little bit on standards. Let's start off with use cases for the Alpha product. So we had manhole covers, we have agriculture. Any other examples of where this is being used today, or where you think it may be used?
Absolutely. We actually have another smart city application in Manchester.
Manchester, England?
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Okay.
So there's an organization called CityVerve. What they're doing is monitoring the air quality in their mass transit stations. And their goal is to improve the conditions for the users of these transit stations.
That's very good.
So
and those air quality sensors, what kind of ballpark are they? Because I know that we've got San Diego's a beautiful city, but Barrio Logan, which is kind of the lower income area, lot of motorways, and there's real issues with being able to measure air quality, and there's kids getting asthma and people getting sick, and it's too expensive for them to do a great job of monitoring that. It sounds like this might be a solution for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So, and as you mentioned before, our infrastructure is pretty good. So the base station has a wide area of coverage. You don't need too many of them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like one base station you cover most of downtown San Diego, 6 miles.
That's right. And it does. You do have issues with building. So in a very dense area, if you're putting this base station down low, you may need more.
Right.
But even we've done testing in the city of Beijing in conjunction with the manhole application, and even in an environment like that, you have about a 2-mile range.
Okay.
So you're still quite effective at that level.
And so this network, it's low frequency, low power, so conserves battery, but it's low speed. This is not Wi-Fi we're talking about. How fast are we transmitting this data?
It's slower than 56K. So
okay.
It's slower than your 56K modem, but it's not as...
Think of a dial-up connection, basically.
Yes, and it's not... it's a different application, so you're not streaming video. What you want to do is get metrics on the environment.
Right.
And those sensors, the data that they're pushing out isn't very much.
Okay.
So it's a perfect application. And although you do have that trade-off, you can't stream video, you also have the advantage that you're not using a whole lot of power. So these sensors can stay out in the field unattended for a much longer time.
Okay.
And
so
they don't need to be wired. So,
right.
Yeah.
So air quality, what about like utilities, gas meters, it seems to the water meters, that seems to be the perennial industrial IoT thing?
Absolutely. That is actually a use case that we are working on.
Uh-huh.
We have a chipset which incorporates that LP-WAN technology, the long-range, low-power technology, and our BLE. And that is for third-party sensor manufacturers, including gas meter or any type of meter, utility meter manufacturer. So you can use that on the LoRa or on the LP-WAN type.
And so how long has this infrastructure been out there? I heard about it about a year ago. Your CEO described it. I'm like, no, this can't be true. And it's clearly shipping now, but how long has it been out there? And roughly, can you give me some sense of order of magnitude what the adoption has been like so far?
So the chipset was released, the chipset that we use for LP-WAN was released a little over a year and a half ago. So we, within 6 months, had prototypes, and now we're in mass production of the base station. Mm-hmm. So in a year and a half, we're mass producing the products.
Right.
Right. And so you're asking about adoption?
Yeah.
So adoption is ramping up.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see more use cases in Europe and in Asia, and we're really we're here to kind of educate the public about the advantages of using systems, and specifically public, I mean other businesses.
And you're certified, I noticed you're FCC certified, so it's not an issue with using this in the States,
That's right.
In Europe, you're okay?
In Europe we are, and where our FCC certification actually is pending right now.
Okay. What sort of timescales? So can you do pilots now, or do you have to wait for that?
No, we can do pilots, and we are. We're executing use cases already.
All right, that's pretty exciting. So let's just wrap up. Before we wrap up, I've got 2 things. And actually, one thing, I don't think you've seen the podcast before, but one of the hardest questions is we ask people, what are the 3 tracks of music they would take to Mars with them if they're going to have to go there? You don't answer that now. You're going to leave it in the background. That's right. The hardest question. But let's just talk about the beacon business and then we'll wrap up. So over 300,000 beacons deployed. It's phenomenal. What are the use cases that are driving that? You've got that. Tell us the story of the jewelry use case, which is kind of one of the most famous ones that you guys have.
So Chow Tai Fook, it's a huge jewelry retailer in China. And what we did was developed a sensor or a beacon specifically for them that I actually had one to show you now, but it's a very high...
If you hold this, I brought mine along.
Excellent.
You guys...
But we wanted to execute a very high-end design so that you don't have to hide the beacon.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You can have it out there with jewelry.
Right.
It's called the Yunzi.
It is just amazing. It's one of the most beautiful beacons there are, and it's kind of got a light sensor and...
it's light, accelerometer, temperature.
Okay, so we've got how many jewelry stores are we talking about?
Oh wow, just bring that on me. My colleague worked on this. I want to say 600 to 700 to 1,000 stores.
A lot of jewelry stores, they've got these beacons in. How do people use them?
So it's for proximity marketing.
Yep.
So you can place it. There's a variety of different jewelry manufacturers, companies. You can place them in the showcase.
All right.
And when a user walks up or a client walks up, they can interact with it by a mobile app. So in that mobile app, that beacon can push targeted advertising to them, coupons, promotions, things like that.
And what is that app that people use in that case?
So in this case, it was integrated with Wechat,
Right.
which is a huge social networking app, mostly deployed in China. But we use it here too.
All right.
And there's over 600 million users. So
That is phenomenal,
it's
isn't it?
amazing.
So people talk about beacons have an issue with, I need an app, but if you can work with Wechat, and
Right.
presumably you need to be a big retailer for Wechat to be interested in talking to you. Is anyone else using beacons with Wechat that you know of?
Not that I know of, but I know Wechat has many partnerships.
Right.
It's kind of a Swiss Army knife of apps.
Yeah. And so what's your take on the health of the beacon ecosystem? Those one of the analytics companies that focuses on retail was saying, beacons are dead, and clearly you've kind of made this big investment in sort of use cases that aren't your typical retail use cases with the Alpha product. Is the Beacosystem dead?
No, I don't think it is. But I think that it's evolving into an IoT infrastructure like we have. So I think it's far from dead. All of our devices are beacons.
Yeah.
And that allows you to interact with them in proximity. You don't have to be at a computer.
Right.
And I think that's very valuable too.
I agree. Very good. Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm going to hit you with the toughest question of the session. What are the 3 tracks that you would take if you could only take, because it's a very low bandwidth connection, and you forgot to load your MP3 player, and you just got 3 tracks?
Well, I instantly come to mind Hotel California.
All right.
I grew up with that song. I would take any Weezer song. Definitely.
Give me one.
Oh, man. Sweater. Sweater song. I don't even know if I'm going to get this right. I'm just embarrassed that I'm hard rock champion. But, oh well. Now, and the third one, I would say Dire Straits, Sultans and Swing.
Oh, very good. Well, terrific. Stephen, thanks very much. Impromptu, unplanned. I've been wanting to talk to you guys for ages. And if you have been, thanks very much for watching the Hitchhiker's Guide from Statler Consulting.
A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the